welcome back, my friends. Good to see everybody. Actually, I can't see you. You can see me with my new haircut. I got all my hair cut off, most of it. I got to be light, fast. I got to move because I got a lot to cover today. It's a lot to cover. It's a lot longer than last week's. I didn't expect it to be longer, but it's longer. So here we go. I can't stop writing sometimes. That's just how I roll. So this one is based on this last week I read Michael Pollan's In Defense of Food. In Defense of Food. And it was written 2008. So it's a little bit, got a few years, past its due date, I think. But concepts are great. The ideas are amazing. I love it. And I think it's a great book, an idea to frame this entire Friday thing. The Friday health-related situation that I am trying to cultivate here. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna read this one because otherwise it requires too much. So we're just gonna read it, and hopefully it won't be more than like 5-6 minutes. So here we go. Food that needs defending. Okay, I just read Michael Pollan's In Defense of Food this week. Landed at the perfect time just as I'm starting these weekly investigations into a treasure trove of health-related curiosities. The thesis of the book is summed up in the following simple exhortation. Eat food, not too much, mostly plants. Eat food, not too much, mostly plants. 3 points. Okay. In our culture, there's so much confusion about what to eat. And should I get this avocado oil mayonnaise or stick with the Hellmann's with the soy oil? Is soy oil bad? Soy is supposed to be good for us. Is soy oil a trans fat? Will it affect my cholesterol? Maybe my LDL? I don't know. And is it organic? And on it goes. Each time we pick up a product, there's a little conversation in our head around it, trying to strike the delicate balance between tastiness and having it not kill us. So it's really confusing. And there's this term called Orthorexia Nervosa. And it's a fairly new term coined in the late 90s. And it describes an eating disorder associated with an obsession with healthy eating and optimal nutrition. So now, maybe I fall into that category. You'll have to determine that. But that's an extreme kind of sense about this category. But I wanted to mention it because even though most Americans kind of like are on the other side of that divide, as evidenced by the skyrocketing cases of chronic illness, it seems to me that it's a response to the decline of the American diet and our obsession with health. It seems to be doing the opposite of what it intends. So the more we get into what's healthy, what's not, no fat, tons of fat, no carbs, tons of carbs, whatever. It's really confusing, and then we get kind of, we get unhealthier as we continue. So it can be a problem because we are fed too much information about what's healthy and what isn't, and because I risk adding to the problem on these little Friday snacks of health info. I think it's important to start offering a touchstone that we can come back to time and again, especially when we get confused or feel like we're going off the rails. So this is where Mr. Pollan's handy-dandy phrase can do its little magic. Say hi to Makoso. Hello, Makoso. So here we go. We're going to just pick apart those 3 points. Ready? Eat food. All right. So now, you may be thinking, what do you mean eat food? Of course I eat food. You said simple. It's a simple phrase. Maybe it's not. Maybe that's too simple. Just eat food. When Michael Pollan says eat food, what he means is eat whole food, actual real food. Okay? If it comes in a bag, if it comes in a box, if it comes in a jar, for the most part, it doesn't count. Because what you get in that bag, box, or jar is actually just food-like substance. It looks like food, often tastes like really good food, but in reality it was created in a factory from the hundreds of derivations of just 3 main crops. Okay? Corn, soy, and wheat. The soy oil in the mayonnaise, that high fructose corn syrup from the corn, the egg from a chicken fed with that corn. If you dig, and you don't have to dig too far, the basis of most of the products, flavoring, sweeteners, preservatives, and just the main ingredients that you find on a typical a shelf in a typical grocery store, comes from the extracted energy from the seeds of those three plants. All, ironically enough, grown from the denuded dirt. Do you like that word, denuded? Denuded dirt that is made palatable to the plants using just three inputs: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So instead of like a healthy soil with all kinds of critters and bacteria and, of course, those three things, but many more things, we have basically empty dirt that is filled with these chemical inputs, and then they create these three plants, and we take the kind of power center of those three plants, get rid of everything else, and then use it to create everything that you see in the store, 90% of the things that you see in the store. So eating real food means eating food that is not found in a box or a bag. It means shopping in the outer ring of the grocery store for the most part, avoiding the aisles for the most part. It also means you might have to cook, which brings me to the second point. All right. So the second one is not too much. All right. Many people have asked the question, why is it that the French are so healthy despite the fact that they drink a lot of wine and eat food laden with saturated fats? I mean, have you ever been to a French restaurant and eaten the sauces that they serve? Or been to France, perhaps? They are rich and flavorful, downright yummy. How can they not be fattening? And then they wash it all down with red wine every night? What? Okay, so despite this, they have a population with an obesity rate less than 10%. By way of contrast, the obesity rate in the United States is over 30%. So here's the idea, here's the theory. French place a high value on eating as a family and with friends. So this is kind of an interesting stat. In the U.S., at least until COVID, a fifth, 20% of our daily food consumption was eaten while driving. Because the French people are hanging out with more friends and family while eating. They laugh more. They eat more slowly. They don't have big portions. And they don't take seconds. This is kind of like a cultural thing. With them, they don't take seconds. They eat good, high-quality food, and they savor it. It's funny. I have a French friend, and she was in Chicago for a long time, and then she moved to France, or back home to France. And she asked me to send her a to-go, a coffee cup, one of those big coffee cups that we carry around with us everywhere we go. She couldn't find one in France. They don't do that. They go to the coffee shop, they drink their little espresso, and then they're done, and then they go. They don't like take big, huge cups of coffee to go and have it with them everywhere they go. Anyway, it's just kind of like an interesting thing about portions and also about slowing down and just like taking the time. So it's true that the price of good food is more money, and not everyone can afford it. But if you can, you should, not just for the health, not just for your health, but for all the downstream consequences of things like better soil management and less chemicals in the food chain and better conditions for farm workers, etc., etc. Real food can be more expensive, but when we are eating actual foods, we don't need to eat as much to get our nutritional needs met. Smaller plates, higher quality, and slow, relaxed eating with friends and family can make all the difference. Plus, it can pay off in the long run. In 1960, this is really interesting, Americans spent 17.5% of their income on food. And 5% of the national income was spent on healthcare, 5.2%. Now, in 2008, Americans spent 9.9% of their income on food, much less from the 17.5%. And the healthcare cost rose to 16% of the national income from 5.2%. In other words, it literally flipped. Okay? So perhaps if we spent more money on quality food, we might spend less on healthcare. And how do we get high quality food? We support local, organic, regenerative farms, if at all possible. Okay. All right, mostly plants. Third point. Getting through this. Although there are bitter debates amongst well-meaning people about food and nutrition, there is little disagreement that eating more plants is a good thing for our personal health, and depending on, of course, how it is grown, the health of the planet. Plants are filled with antioxidants. So here's a little Little biology lesson for you. Plants are filled with antioxidants that absorb and stabilize pesky free radicals, which cause damage in the body. The antioxidants in plants, such as vitamin C and many others, actually stimulates an enzyme in the liver that breaks down various chemicals, carcinogens, and other toxins that need to be removed from the body. The greater variety of plants that you eat, the greater variety of antioxidants you will consume, and the greater variety of plants you eat, the greater number of antioxidants you will consume, and the greater variety of toxins that you will neutralize before they can do their dirty work. If you eat meat, try to choose meat that was fed on the plants of their choosing, not seeds, i.e. corn, and killed in a humane way. Why do we add antibiotics to cattle feed? Because when you feed a cow an unnatural diet of high energy grains, they get sick, as do we. If you let that cow graze on grass, then guess what? No antibiotics are necessary. There are way more omega-3 fatty acids in the meat. The meat is rich in nutrients. And omega-3 fatty acids, some people are starting to think, or kind of like form the hypothesis that balance of omega-3, omega-6, which has gotten thrown off so much in the modern way of eating, may be one of the main causes. Certainly, it causes more inflammation in the body, and more inflammation causes more disease. So they think that imbalance may be a main cause of why we're getting so sick. Throughout time, throughout the world, there have been diets high in fats, low in fats, animal-based, plant-based, all of which supported the health of the people consuming them. There is no one perfect diet that we can say without equivocation that we can say is perfect, right? There's not one diet, but so many of them have supported the health of their people through time, right? Except one, and that's the Western diet, which is an unmitigated failure. What these traditional ways of eating have in common is that they're all whole food based on plants, i.e. leaves, not seeds, grown in a healthy soil, and they celebrate food through meals with family and friends. They eat food, not too much, mostly plants or animals fed on plants. It's a simple model to remember, but one that we must keep in mind, because if we do, ourselves, our communities, and our planet will be happier and healthier for it. Boom, 12 minutes. All right, it's a little long. I'm sorry. I'll be shorter next week. Okay. Have a good week.
Tonight, I hope a star shining